Welcome to your training on lead and lead-based paint. I am Garth Haslam. In this segment, we're going to just talk about the risks associated with lead and where you can find it. We're going to go over the effects of lead, the pathways for it to get into the human body, where it is found, what EPA has to say about lead. We're going to get into sampling, and we're going to cover abatement. Usually when I, as the home inspector, when I find a lead problem, it's going to be on the exterior of the home. The reason for that is that if you've got paint on the inside, it's not seeing the weathering, it's not spalling or peeling off, it's not lying on the floor. Usually when paint starts to go bad inside the house, it gets painted over very quickly. So if there was lead since 1978, and 1978 is, by the way, that magic number. Before then, it's considered very possible that the home could have lead, and after that, it's considered to be much less likely. So while I have done sampling and while I have found lead-based paint inside the home, in that particular case it was a foundation that had been painted, the one that comes to mind, but high 90s probability is that if you're going to find lead at a house, it's going to be on the exterior. The reason for that is that, again, paint spalls, it peels, it falls off, it gets into the soil, and as the home inspector, you can actually peel off some spalling paint, and in many cases you can actually see 3 or 4, sometimes more, different layers of paint, and then you can actually test each of those to see if they have any lead in them. Now, obviously you can only test the surface, but if you've got cracking or peeling going on, sometimes you can get into some of those inner layers. So the effects of lead are going to vary depending on who is being affected. So generally you've got kids that are under 6 that are affected the most, but you can also have unborn babies, also known as fetuses, and then you have adults. And I'll go over each of those categories separately. The under 6 crowd, for those children, the primary ill associated with lead is that it's going to inhibit brain development in those kids. And, this is something that's going to terrify mothers everywhere. We all want our kids to turn into baby Einstein, and the last thing we need is something like lead inhibiting their brain development. It's going to affect their nervous system, it's going to affect the kidneys, it's going to get into learning disabilities, muscle coordination, language, the list goes on. Kind of a scary sort of a thing for kids to be eating lead. Now at this point in time, when I'm teaching this class live, a lot of times I'll get hands shoot up and say, well, how much lead do you have to eat before you're affected negatively? And I don't have an answer to that, and I don't know that anyone else does either. We just know that EPA says that children are affected negatively. So for unborn, you've got a similar set of issues. It's going to be impaired development, not just of the brain, but basically the whole body. The baby, the child, the fetus is inside the mother's body, and just things are going to go wrong. So they list impaired development, premature birth, reduced birth weight, and for the mother, there's fertility problems and there's miscarriages, and things just go badly, sometimes very badly, much more often when the mother, for whatever reason, has lead-based paint or lead inside her system. Now for adults, we've already mentioned fertility problems. Then you can also have, according to the research, you can have digestive issues, you can have nerve issues, you can have memory and concentration issues, you can have muscle and joint pain, and then for men, it turns out that it causes higher blood pressure as well. There is no shortage of symptoms and problems associated with higher levels of lead concentrations, so it is definitely something that we need to be searching for as home inspectors in my case, or as realtors in your case, so that we can protect our clients and make sure they're not dealing with those. In addition, of course, there's also the monetary aspects of, you know, them getting stuck with the bill if you and I don't do our jobs. At very minimum, even if our clients don't actually have health effects, it's still very possible that the next realtor and home inspector to drop by the house 5 years later might discover the lead problem, and then it's our clients that get stuck with the bill for doing the remediation. And we'll be right back.